Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. My name is Jared. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe. I'm recording this on Tuesday the 7th. Right now it's 8:03 p.m. Central, which would be 6:03 p.m. in California. And hopefully you've seen this already, but this is kind of big news. There's a large fire that's really devastating this western neighborhood of Los Angeles called Pacific Palisades. As of right now, there's already a number of homes that have been destroyed, and it doesn't seem like there's any relief in sight. They're talking about how the winds are going to be bad tonight, and it's definitely going to get worse before it gets better, it seems. So here's a map of the Los Angeles area. Here's downtown Los Angeles, and you just go directly west. From what I saw, it's like 20 miles to the west. You have this Palisades neighborhood. It's a very affluent area, it seems. And there's some interesting things to point out that are not time specific. Things that have to do with our church, things that have to do with Jews, because there's a large Jewish community that lives here, and I have some thoughts about that. Every year since I started this channel, I've wondered what's the first big thing going to be of the year. For example, 2022, you had that massive volcanic explosion off the coast of Tonga. It was the largest explosion ever recorded by modern instruments, whether natural, like a volcano, or man-made, like a nuclear weapon. That was the first big thing of 2022. 2023, it was that big earthquake in Turkey, and it also affected Syria. It split that Mount of Olives into two in Turkey. I don't know if I would call it with this, but so far it's not looking very good. And it's reminding me of these fires that we've seen, not so much last year. Last year wasn't so bad for fires, but in 2023, we had Lahaina that was almost completely destroyed. And then back in I think it was 20, we're about to look it up, but you had the Paradise, California fire that was, I think, in 2018 or 2019. So this feels like that. We're having a lot of these just crazy, quickly growing fires that are just devastating. And I don't know really what to think of it. Let's look at some pictures as I'm talking. Oh yeah, by the way, they issued a PDS warning for this fire watch. I was watching the news. They say that this is a more on the rare side for a PDS to be issued. It's a particularly dangerous situation. You can have that for, I guess, fire watches, but as well as tornadoes and other things. PDS. So, you can take it at face value. Just stuff happened to make, this fire start and then spread. I don't get too much into these kind of like tangential topics, but I do believe that there is such a thing as asymmetric warfare, and I've covered it from time to time. It's not really the main focus of my channel, but with these like fires that just keep happening that are destroying these communities so rapidly, I can't help but wonder, there's different ways that you can fight wars. And it seems like this century has been filled with these kind of hard to put your finger on events, whether, was this a natural occurrence or was this something else? So one of the unusual things that I haven't seen so far in my life, I'm sure it's happened before, but it was like growing so quick. I was watching a news segment where they were talking about, one person panics and then everybody just kind of follows suit. Maybe that's what happened, but kind of like Lahaina, where people had to literally jump into the ocean to get away from the fire. You had this situation where these people were driving out. I think this is probably part of what I'm talking. This picture is part of what I'm talking about. People driving away, but then like they abandoned their cars. There must have been like a traffic jam, and so many people were trying to get out. And so when the firefighters came in, they had to use bulldozers to move the cars out of the way. And these are nice cars because it's a nice area. Got this on X from Mario Nafal. Palisades fire rages, mass evacuations ordered. quote unquote, worst in 20 years. And that's just as of right now. You guys probably have more information because I'm publishing this on the 8th. But as of right now, quote unquote, worst in 20 years. Retired LA Fire Captain Bob Goldman, quote, "This is an extremely dynamic situation. I don't recall a wind event like this in 15, 20 years, end quote. So, yeah, as of right now, there's at least been like 10 to 20 that have been destroyed at the time that I'm watching this, if not more. It's been hard for the news agencies to really ascertain the extent of the damage because we're just like in the beginning of this at the time that I'm recording this. But it's looking pretty bad. It's looking pretty bad. So let's look into just some of the interesting details here. So again, Pacific Palisades is a neighborhood of Los Angeles on the west side. Pacific Palisades was formally founded in 1921 by a Methodist organization, and in the years that followed became a refuge for Jewish artists and intellectuals fleeing the Holocaust. Okay, this is going to come into play a little bit later. Let's see, I think that's all I have. Oh yeah, there was just a few things. So you have like this annual menorah lighting that they do for Hanukkah that started in 1988, and it goes on to talk about that tradition. Has synagogues, and there's also a Jewish school, like a elementary school, I believe. The Pacific Palisades is home to a large Jewish population. It has a number of synagogues, including the following. So you got the Chabad, they're there, and then you have this Reconstructionist synagogue. Okay, so I went ahead and I put this event on my spreadsheet called Timeline Second Coming. So this is my first entry for 2025. Here's the event. You go to the right, I have my references over there. You can access my spreadsheets anytime. The link is in the description box below. I think one of my New Year's resolutions is going to be, I'm going to try and keep this more updated this year. In 2024, I didn't do such a good job with this spreadsheet, but I think I'm going to try and keep on top of this. This spreadsheet is the one that started this entire thing. Like all these other spreadsheets, it started with this one. Okay, let's move on. It's interesting because today is January 7th, just 7 days before President Nelson hits his 7-year anniversary being president of the church, which was January 14th of 2018. So I have to note that this is something I really have my eyes on. Just with all the sevens that we've seen all throughout church history, all throughout the scriptures, but especially during President Nelson's time as president of the church, there's been so many. I have my eyes on this anniversary. By the way, make sure to follow me on Instagram. The link is in the description box below. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Jewish piece in just a minute. Let's look at a few other spreadsheets first. So this is a spreadsheet that I created back in 2023 where I wanted to try and keep a record, have some kind of timeline for cities or towns that have been destroyed by wildfire. And I got to update this because at the time that I made the spreadsheet, these cities like Medical Lake, Washington, Kelowna, British Columbia, Kyotari, Greece, they were looking like they were about to be destroyed. So, but then the news passed and I just never came back and updated this. But you did have Lahaina that I mentioned earlier on August 8th of 2023. 2021 was pretty bad. These two small towns that were destroyed, Greenville, California, and Grizzly Flats. Before that, in Canada and British Columbia, you had Lytton, I'm not sure how it's pronounced, 2020, Berry Creek. And then the more famous one, Paradise, California. Okay, and it looks like it was almost 2019. It was November 8th of 2018. So look at this. This was during President Nelson's first year as president of the church. Now, here we are. He is in his 7th year, about to start his 8th year. And you have this. We're going to have to keep our eyes on this. Now, remember what happened with this fire. Dang it, why didn't I pull this up? I'll pull it up right now. Okay, let's see. Russell M. Nelson, Come Follow Me, 2019. I do my best to prepare for these videos, but just sometimes it's just so much. Okay, so the general conference after the Paradise, California fire was this one. President Nelson gave this talk, and then he talks about visiting Paradise, California. He shows a picture of that town burnt down by fire, which I think that we should take note, especially since he's, he talks about the second coming so often, and we know that the world is going to be cleansed by fire when Christ comes. And then at the end, he says, now, as president of his church, I plead with you who have distanced yourselves from the church, and with you who have not really sought to know that the Savior's church has been restored. Do the spiritual work to find out for yourselves, and please do it now. Time is running out. So, Paradise, California, 2018, and now we have Palisades, or Pacific Palisades, Los Angeles, 2025. Just a week before he hits his 7-year anniversary. Okay, so it's just kind of interesting. Of course, this is not a comprehensive list. I'm never going to have that, but this seems unusual to me based on my life experience. I'm now 40 years old. I don't remember so many cities being destroyed, like almost completely destroyed by wildfires, but it seems to just be the norm now. I got this spreadsheet. This is a spreadsheet where I track the largest or deadliest or most destructive wildfires in these different locations, like Chile, Nova Scotia, European Union, so on. I only have one entry for 2024. It was Texas. Texas had its single largest wildfire in state history, the Smokehouse Creek Fire. There's this one right here. Chile had its deadliest wildfire. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, but 2023 had a lot of these events. Now, I'm not going to go through all these, but suffice it to say that, and I've checked all the different states in the union. There may be some that I'm missing. Some of them you just can't really find anything if it's like a smaller state like Delaware or something like that. So I'm not going to have like all 50 states on here, but believe me, I've been pretty thorough. And it doesn't really start until 2004 that you start having these like record-breaking events. In 2004, that's when President Oaks gave his second coming talk, like his one like very second coming talk. It's called something like Preparation for the Second Coming. So anyway, I've talked about that before on the channel. Here's a graph just to show. It's like a graph for this right here. If you go year by year and you tally up these different fires, this is what it looks like. So it's been pretty dramatic. And here's 2023 right here. So there's definitely an upwards trend. We'll have to see how 2025 goes. But for all I know, maybe this fire that's going on right now, maybe it's going to be the next one on this list. Maybe it's going to be the most destructive. Hopefully not the most deadliest. It's not going to be the largest. Something really crazy would have to happen for it to be the largest. So it could be most destructive, or it could be the deadliest, but most likely most destructive, if anything. Okay, moving on. So another thing with President Nelson, I have this spreadsheet called Profits, President Nelson's Bridges, or you could think of these as bookends. It's a series of events, things that seem to be bookends, or the two bookend towers of a suspension bridge. For example, the 2017 eclipse just a few months before he became president of the church, and then the 2024 eclipse that went over Kirtland, Ohio, the Sacred Grove. So these two major American eclipses on either side of President Nelson's presidency. Of course, he's still going, but it's just kind of interesting. We've seen a bunch of things like this, and one of those things are wildfires. So we just talked about the Paradise, California wildfire, November 8th of 2018. And then in 2024, February 4th, we had the Valparaiso chili fire. So the city is Viña del Mar, which is Vineyard of the Sea. It's in the region of Valparaiso, which means Valley of Paradise. And so you have these two places called Paradise that were ravaged by fire. And then just a few months before that, before Valparaiso, you had Lahaina that was destroyed by fire. So you have these paradise places being destroyed by fire. It's weird. And it's interesting because you have the Viña del Mar temple, the Viña del Mar Chili temple was announced the general conference before the fire happened in Viña del Mar. So it's weird. Okay. Now let's move on, and we're going to finish off with the Jewish piece. I have this spreadsheet called Signs Jewish Specific. Today, just now, I added this column E, so you can more easily see in what country these events have taken place. And I'm counting this as potentially a Jewish specific sign because Pacific Palisades has a large Jewish community. Let me show you some more about that. So I'm not going to go over all these, but it reminds me of this right here, rows 18 and 19. Let me zoom in. This was from 2021. Okay, so what happened? So first, you have this guy. This guy is not Jewish, but here's Cape Cod Times. I was completely inside. Lobster diver swallowed by humpback whale off Provincetown. Okay, so you have a guy that was literally swallowed by a whale. And of course, when we think about the Bible, what story do we think about? We think about Jonah, right? Jonah and the whale. So that was kind of odd. He went on Jimmy Kimmel and they put together this prop for him to do his interview out of. Thankfully, he's okay. But he had this, and then just let's go back to here. How long was it after that? It was in the same month. It was 13 days later. So this was June 11th, and then 13 days later, you may remember this story. The Champlain tower collapse in Surfside, Florida. Do you remember this story? Let me know in the comments if you remember this. So you had this condo tower collapse. It wasn't anything. It was just like a structural thing, supposedly. But guess what? Surfside, Florida. You know what's interesting about Surfside, Florida? Jewish population. As of 2021, approximately 1/3 of the population of Surfside, approximately 1/3 of the population of Surfside are Jews. Did I just lose the ability to read? It is also the most Jewish community in the Miami metropolitan area. Around 2,500 Jews reside in Surfside. And then it goes on. Okay. So you have this on the East Coast, and then we're going through this right now on the West Coast as I'm making this video. But there's more. Just hang on. So you got that about Surfside. Here's the Wikipedia article about the collapse. Members of Hatzalah of South Florida, a Jewish faith-based ambulance service, which was authorized to transport patients as part of a law signed the previous week in Surfside, were among the first to respond, setting up an on-site triage station. Israel, the country Israel, offered clothes, medication, food, water, and other aid to the victims of the collapse. So you got this going on. It's a very Jewish event, a Jewish disaster that happens. And then this from Daily Mail. Boy, 15, who was rescued from the rubble of collapsed Miami condo with the help of a passing dog walker as search continues for his mother. Guess what his name is? This first person that got pulled out of the wreckage, the rubble. Guess what his name is? Jonah Handler. And you have a picture of him right here being pulled out. This was just 13 days after that man was literally swallowed by a whale. And a couple other things. The tower, which is located 1 block away where Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump currently live. Okay, a block away. So it's a Jewish area and a block away from where Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump lived at the time. I don't know if they probably still have that place. Has a mix of seasonal and year-round residents. Mayor Burkett said the building keeps a log of guests staying, but does not keep track of when owners are in the residence. So going back to that idea that I started this video with about like asymmetric warfare and acts of war that you can't necessarily see or easily identify. I don't know. I don't know. It's just weird at the very least. Those are highlights from a previous video. Okay, that's all I have to share with that. The news, this happening made it into Yeshiva World News, which is a Jewish newspaper. I guess the picture doesn't pull up anymore. I refreshed it a bunch of times, but his father talks about how this was a miracle, and it's a really interesting article. I'll put a link for it in the description box below. And then with all this stuff that I just talked about like Jonah, these 2 Jonah events, there was something else that happened somewhat recently. I can't remember if it was last year. It was probably last year. Well, it says right here, 2023. Okay, so in 2023, there was an interesting event that happened at the site where Nineveh used to be. There was like another Jonah sign, but I'm not going to go over that here because that's outside the scope of this video. But I'll put a link for this in the description box below in case you want to like go through all the details. It was a very, very interesting video. So, I don't know. There's like a lot of other weird things going on this year. I'm not going to cover it all unless there's like something big, but there's just like so many weird things. Trump is talking about buying Greenland. I know he had done that before, but it seems like he's like really serious right now about Greenland and Canada and the Panama Canal. And then you had those 2 attacks, or those 2 events that took place on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, one at Trump Tower, the other one in New Orleans. There's just like a lot of weird things going on right now. And pretty soon he's going to be back in office, and I feel like that's going to bring all sorts of craziness. That's just going to be a few days after President Nelson's 7-year anniversary that Trump is back in office. So I don't know. 2025 might be interesting. So, all right, that's going to be it for this one. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video if you liked it, leave your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. Also make sure to share it, and I'll talk to you guys later.